Hello and welcome to the Aegis Accounting podcast, video log, whatever it is you want to call it. We haven't decided on a name for it. We're only just really getting started with this. As you can tell, I haven't even got a proper audio solution set up yet. I'm still using my phone's audio. It's okay, you'll be fine, but we'll have to improve that one in the future. We wanted to start with something that is kind of important for you to understand who we are and for me to tell you a little bit about Aegis Accounting. We're not going to advertise to you everything that we do every week. That would be incredibly dull. But for this one, we're only going to talk to you about us. And then we'll move on to some other topics that we think are great for small businesses. So to start with, I'm going to tell you about our backstory, what's happening now, and where it is that we're going, so that you can understand a little bit more about Aegis Accounting and who we are. First and foremost, we're a family business. There's three of us in this business, my father, my mother and I. And that's not the extent of what we do. We do, engage other people. But first and foremost, it's a family business. Maybe you're a family business. Maybe you know a family business. It's got its own dynamic. It's very easy to stay close with family. We're all in good relations, so things work really well. But it's not quite the same as other businesses that aren't in that kind of setup. No one's going to leave. Like, you don't get to leave your family. So you might leave the business, but you're not going to leave your family. So everyone has an instinctive what's best for the business always going on, which is really nice. It makes things really easy. We can talk positively about the future, and no one ever has this sneaking suspicion that someone is trying to work their way away or maybe work in their own interests only. You don't get that with a family business. That's a good thing. We're also, by definition, a small business, which really helps when we're trying to serve small business. From small business to small business, we can give advice that we know works because we are eating our own dog food. It's the stuff that we do, which is why we're really excited about this podcast and the kind of information we're going to share, because we know that it's definitely going to be helpful because it's helped us. So hopefully you'll find some value in the things that we start moving on to talk about in the coming weeks. Also, we're incredibly tech-centric. We always have been. This business has been going on since the early 80s, it's not that long ago, since computers first started being a big deal in business. Initially, business and computing and accounting, they were all wrapped up. So you would maybe get your computer and your accounting package and all those kinds of things sort of dealt with. You'd have an IT consultant who might also be an accounting consultant. These things were very wrapped up. It's almost hard to remember that now. Everyone's sort of, condensed into their relative silos for what they do. But there were a lot of experts that wrap those things together, and my father was one of them, and he used to help people put in their accounting systems, my mother too, with advice on how the bookkeeping would work, and we used to know an awful lot about those systems. I say I was one in 1984, so I don't necessarily contribute that much to the business at that point, and that kind of moves on to where we are now, really, because I've only joined the business in the last couple of years, and my main thing that we're trying to do is trying to grow and attract new business. We have been rolling along as Aegis Accounting very well for quite a while, with a good number of clients and excellent referrals. It's great to get a business going that exists almost solely on referrals from clients. You know you're doing a good job, and you know that you're growing only because you're doing a good job, not because you were lucky enough to make a good ad. And that's really good feedback, I think, in business. If you're getting strong referrals, you know you must be doing something right. And we've been lucky enough to be in that position now for quite a long time. But because I've joined the business, obviously that's an extra mouth to feed, and we want to grow and do more. And in particular, we want to take advantage of the way technology has very recently evolved to a position where we can offer something new to perhaps a new kind of client that we weren't necessarily appealing to before. So that moves on to where we're going now, and why suddenly we have all this digital activity like podcasts, funky new website, things like that. Basically, when I got first involved, my main thing that I thought I was going to do was to make an app. Everybody's got an app. Everyone wants an app. There's an app for everything. And you may already have app fatigue. I was well aware of this getting in. The last role that I had that was employed was working in the mobile industry, and we were well aware that while there are an awful lot of great apps that do great things, app fatigue was a very real phenomenon. People aren't necessarily that willing to thumb stuff onto their phone that much. But nonetheless, we wanted to do something that was different from what's already available. We love QuickBooks, we love Xero, we love all these things that really help small businesses understand how their finances work, but often they're very over-featured and they're a new thing for you to learn when you're really little, when you're only just starting. And I was getting the experience with my wife, who's a personal trainer, that she did not want to learn that. That was a new skill she doesn't want to learn. In fact, she is very much like the kind of clients that we already have at Aegis Accounting. They don't want to do it. They want to pay someone else to deal with that for them. That's the advantage. Not having to think about your books in depth constantly is an advantage. And it's something that you would pay for and you would have someone else do, and that's why accountants exist. You can learn these things yourself, but beware, you will only learn a subset of the profession because it is a profession, and a lot of experience nets you a lot of knowledge about how best to deal with a given client that you come across. You can learn to do it yourself. You can be a DIY client using good bookkeeping tools, and you can use them properly. And there are a lot of resources to help you to do that, but it's an activity, it's a thing you're going to have to learn. It's not for everybody. And we've always wanted to appeal to people who really just want it taken care of. I'm a big believer that you should really concentrate on what drives you most and what works for your business best when you're in small business. And if you are spending lots of your time on other things, administrative, other stuff, then you're not devoting all the time that you could to actually making your business successful. You're devoting a lot of time to stuff that, frankly, you would be better served paying someone else to do, so that you could be spending that time on what really brings money in, or what really you find valuable and interesting. It's very easy for people to think that if you're in small business, you must be wanting to make it a huge business. You must be wanting to scale to serve 1 billion customers. And that's not true of all small businesses. Many small businesses are not for that at all. Many small businesses are for the enjoyment of the owner. We seem to forget that a lot. It's really important. Do what you enjoy and don't do what you don't enjoy. And that's almost like rocket fuel for your business. When you're enjoying what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're doing and it's propelling you forward naturally towards business success, things are much, much easier. If you're having to wade through stuff you'd rather not be doing all the time, that's not so good. So we love to appeal to clients that really know they'll benefit from not doing it themselves. But these tools exist. You can do them. We do have clients that do and are successful. Often they end up bringing in professional help anyway to help use them. So, whatever works for you. But we're aware that these things are often made very general for a general audience because the people who put the code together for these complicated software platforms don't know exactly which businesses they'll appeal to and which accountants will be using them and what they'll want to know and what the future tax rules will be. It's all very complicated. So I wanted to make an app that would make it super simple because I know exactly what questions I'm going to ask of our clients. It's a much smaller set of information that we actually need, and it can make things a lot easier. We thought we could really simplify that. But apps are not simple. Making an app work on so many different versions of Android, of iOS, of this, of that, of the other, so many browsers, it's actually a huge pain. And when I started to do it, I discovered that it was a bit of a challenge. But one thing I did learn when I was in that space of app development was about a new sort of burgeoning field of making voice bots work. That is, leveraging the work that Google and Apple and Amazon already do to make Alexa and Siri and Google Assistant work on all their devices. And in particular, I became aware of, for Google Assistant, the ability to make your own action for Google Assistant so that people could interact with you and your business in an app way with only their voice and without having to download and install and learn a new piece of software. So that's what we did, and that is why we made and launched the bean counter. You can interact with the bean counter very easily. You simply use Google Assistant and say something along the lines of, okay Google, talk to the bean counter. And then you're talking to us. And we'll only ask for what we need, and you only tell us what you need to record your business transactions. We knew that would simplify things a great deal for manually recording stuff. But that's not the only change that's happened. Incredibly recently, there's been a surge of really innovative financial tech, really good business current accounts that offer better things for not so much money when compared with the high street and the high street offerings of business banks. It's a pretty competitive landscape with a lot of innovation. We decided that we were really interested in that and that it could help us to complement those transactions that you might be able to speak to your phone to record rather than learning an app with transactions that you don't even have to record because your current account is doing it for you and getting it into our systems without you having to do anything. And one of the great companies that we discovered that we'd like to work with to do that is Coconut. We talk about it extensively on our website. You can find that there. And they allow you to be able to simply use your card. They will automatically categorize those transactions and record them. And yes, you can go in and edit if you think it should be different. They automatically deal with VAT codes if you are VAT registered. They do it for both limited companies and for sole traders, and they have 2 levels of account, one of which is free. So it's a fantastic offering, especially now that this month, that's January 2020, in case you're not listening to this or watching this at that time. They have launched the ability through new open banking APIs, which of course is a very new technology, to be able to link in to your other business accounts that you may already have, or your personal accounts from which you might want to pull a few business transactions in. So you really do get one place to get all that information and all of that data about your transactions in automatically, or at least mostly automatically. You may want to tweak a few things, but mostly automatically. And those things combined, which we can then use to deal with your accounts and with HMRC on your behalf with very, very little interaction, are finally allowing us to make an offer that really has been what we've wanted to do with Aegis for a very, very long time, which is to make it so that we can have very little interaction with clients for the minutiae of getting detail. We don't want to have constant phone calls just to figure out what's going on with a handful of transactions. You don't like that, we don't like that. We'd love to be able to give value through advice. We don't want to necessarily spend ages bothering you with questions about transactions that we don't need to do. If we can get it all done automatically, that's fantastic. So those combined finally mean we can make that offer, and we've decided that the best way to wrap that all up is through a monthly subscription rather than trying to save all that sort of stuff, all the charges up until the end of the year and then throwing an amount at you. We think if you are paying as you go, and especially this means that we get the opportunity to, as we go, look at what your tax bill is estimated to be so that you know how much money you should be putting aside for tax each month. I just can't imagine doing business without a good estimate of how much of the money I've managed to make this month I can actually take and spend in my life as earnings, and how much of it is actually going to HMRC, and we're going to need to keep that somewhere ready for when that bill comes. I'm a big believer in making hay while the sun shines. When times are good, put that money aside, because if times go bad, the bill's still going to be there. You know, they're going to want their money, so you need to put it aside as you earn it. But yeah, that's us. That's a little bit of our backstory. It's certainly what's happening now and where we're trying to head. With this new offer, we're really excited about what we've done. It's the first chatbot to be able to record your expenses, your mileage, and your sales just by using your voice. I'm amazed that we're the first to get there, but I'm really pleased that we are. It's a real a really good thing for us, and it's something we'd love to be able to shout about more. But we are a small business. we're not going to seek to make everybody our clients, and we want to appeal to small businesses that are really going to find it valuable first and foremost, which is why this first podcast is to do with who we are and how we've got here, but all of our future ones are going to be far less advertisements about what we do and far more about things we've learned as we're a small business trying to grow that we think are going to be incredibly valuable for you. So, for example, there's a couple of things I've been doing over this last few weeks that I think are going to be incredibly valuable. I've been trying to look at CRM systems. It turns out a CRM is not a CRM is not a CRM. They all have their own different things. I've had to go through that. It was a painful process. I'd like to share what I've learned. It could be valuable for you. We've had one of our businesses that we work with has been struggling with some business that's gone sour, and how to deal with that, how to deal with keeping good business relationships in a very personal business. I'd love to be able to talk about that in the future. There's loads of things that we're excited to share, and I hope that you'll stay tuned. In and around this video or audio, there'll be some kind of either show notes or link to show notes. There'll also be some kind of place where you can sign up and get by email notified when we've produced more content. I find it a little unreliable on the many platforms this is going to that you'll actually get notified, so that would be the best way for you to make sure that you don't miss it. Of course, I hope that you do subscribe on whatever platform you love to consume this content. That would be great. If there's any mechanism for you to give likes or follows or shares, that's all great too. I'm aware I'm probably talking to a very small audience right now, unless you're from the future and you're a time traveller and you have time travelled back into the archives because you're interested in our first podcast. If that's you, hello from the past. If not, please move on to our other content where we're going to start giving some hopefully really valuable stuff for you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.